Welcome. You're listening to The Kevin Illett Show.
Hey everyone, this is Chris Luna, real estate investor extraordinaire. He also has his own community, backyard community, and he helps investors all across the country and in his own market start in their backyard. And we met, how long ago, Chris, was that?
Let's see, that must have been, I don't know, September 2022, one of the first wealth cons I went to. Yeah, a couple years ago.
Yeah, and we hit it off. I think we were eating lunch together, and he's telling me his story. The dude is just I'll say serial entrepreneur in the best way possible. Like your brain, the way it works, man. I've been watching you on social media, and we've stayed pretty connected and caught up at last WealthCon we went to. And so what's going on, man? What are you into? I want you to tell your story a little bit on the way there about the method, the niche that the niche you've chosen to invest in. Just so everybody can get to know you.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I was a San Diego State grad and I saw a need. Okay. I lived in my fraternity house. A lot of people don't know that, for 2 years. I couldn't leave the place. It was so fun living there, partying, having a good time. But at a certain point, I was like, well, I gotta move out of here. So I moved out of the fraternity house and I moved to the beach. While I was living at the beach, I saw the same problem at the beach that I saw at San Diego State. And it was that housing was limited here in San Diego. It was very expensive, and what you got wasn't that great. And so I had friends buying homes by San Diego State, some of my fraternity brothers, and they're doing really well using other people's money, OPM, and their time to pair these two things together to go and take down deals. So one by one, I saw them start buying deals on streets such as Mary Lane, Dorothy, 55th, all the streets that I grew up on, you know, in my college days, my 6 years at SDSU. And, you know, I asked them for help. I asked them how to get in the game, and they had me managing, I think it was like 20 properties at the time. So I learned the game by being boots on the ground. I was leasing these properties, taking care of the tenants, you know, collecting rent, all the things that you got to do on the come up to really learn the game. And from there, I decided, okay, it's time to buy a property. So at that point, you know, I partnered with one of them, bought my first property, and we can get into all that. But that's how I got in the game. Is I got in the game by asking someone who had what I wanted. I said, well, how do I do this? And they just taught me for free because they're my friends.
Yeah. Right. And now you focus on this ADU market right now, accessory dwelling units. And when we met, I was like, what is that? What are you talking about? And it's super niche to your market. You can't do that across the country. So can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. So the best way to describe an ADU is an accessory dwelling unit. Think of it like a granny flat. You know, as our parents get older, 60, 70, 80, 90, often potentially they could live with you in like a granny flat. That's what they called it back in the day. So just think of a unit in your backyard. San Diego and California allows 1,200 square feet in any backyard across California, meaning you have by right the ability to build 1,200 square feet. And that is the ultimate value add. So you become this little mini developer in your backyard, if you think about it that way. And so what we love here in San Diego is the city has just opened the gates, and they said, Chris, you can build, if it has a certain zoning, 10 ADUs, 20 ADUs. So we're really just leaning into it. The city needs 10,000 units by 2029. They are far behind. So developers like me are pairing investors with agents, with lenders. We're piecing all this stuff together. We're getting paid to do it. It's a lot of fun. We're solving problems. And really, like, a lot of San Diego is built in the 1960s. So now we get to build like brand new 2024 housing. And that's amazing to be able to do that by the beach, by the way.
And that's incredible. I need to rent me out one of these ADUs because I need some beach in my life.
Come on down, man. Who's
awesome,
out here?
Man. That's awesome. You know, I've always admired about you that you take your education really seriously, and you've paid the dollars in order to be in the rooms. And there's a lot of people who they see all the promotion and they see everybody, you know, going to the Grant Cardone stuff, going to the Ryan Pineda stuff, and they just can't reconcile that. I'm not going to spend thousands of dollars to go invest in myself. What have been some of your biggest takeaways by being in the room?
Man, access is super important because Grant can say one thing that I wasn't thinking about, and it's like, boo, like just the whole trajectory, everything changes. Same with Ryan. And it's always these little moments off the top of my head. You know, it's hard to think of them on the spot, but I know Grant, I would say one thing that Grant really taught me is just like that relentless like dog commitment. Like whatever it is you want, it's very doable, but it's going to take more action than you actually think. And so just, you know, 10x obviously is big, but it's the way he motivates people, motivates the people around him. It's his aura. It's his like kind of just this celebrity, this bigger, larger than life person. I've always aspired to want to be, because I think when you can create that sense of like security in other people, like they see you like a certain way, people want to be around that. And people want a good, strong leader to lead them. People are yearning for that leadership. And I've never saw myself as being a leader. I'm like, I'm the worst leader ever. There's no way. But slowly I'm becoming that person, because I just keep putting myself out there. I talk about the wins. I talk about the losses. I'm vulnerable, and that's okay. I just show people all parts of me, and that attracts my tribe, right? So I think the biggest takeaway from Ryan and Grant, they both have, you know, wealthy or 10x. It's that you can create community with like-minded people by being yourself. Ryan leans into the fact that he's a Christian, and that draws other Christians to him. And so I just, for me, it's like, for me, my whole thing's backyard, start in your backyard. And that's what I'm doing. So just building community is what I got from those guys.
That's amazing. And how long have you been on social media, and why did you? I mean, because you're winning, you know, you're doing the ADU thing, you're rocking and rolling, and then you choose to go venture into this other, you know, it's a whole different business. But why? Why would someone who's winning as much as you're winning do this?
Yeah, it's September 2022. I'm walking out of WealthCon, and I had never paid for coaching before. I've had paid Ryan $5,000 to golf, which again, well worth the $5,000. Started posting a little bit on TikTok after that, and then he was making fun of me. He's like, "Bro, you got to post on Instagram. Ain't nobody watching you on TikTok." And he was right. I was scared because of fear of judgment. You know, I speak funny. I look funny. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about. That's the stuff I'm telling myself, right? So nervous to post myself. So I'm posting myself on TikTok so no one would see. Ryan tells me, start posting on Instagram. That was at the golf. This was like June 2022. And then September, I'm like, he tells me when we're golfing, he's like, bro, you got to come to WealthCon. I'm like, bro, I don't know. Like, I don't really go to these events, but I go. I end up going. So September 2022, I go through the conference. I meet a lot of great people. And I'm leaving. I'm walking out, about to check out, and something's just telling me, it's telling me like, go back, turn around. There's something there that you need. So literally I'm walking back towards the conference. My bags were already checked out, by the way. Like I was out, like I had a flight to catch, and I pull up my phone, I click the link, and I pay the $5,000. And the program was Wealthy Creator. And that program changed my life because it showed me exactly step by step how to do this. But more so than anything, it gave me the confidence to just start and stay consistent. I then committed to posting 365 times a day. I'm sorry, 365 times. Yeah, for the year. And I got close to it. And that's what really, you know, grew my following. But yeah. I tell you all that because the reason I went into social media was I had made a mistake. I lost some money on a deal, and I wanted to help people not ever make that mistake.
That's amazing. What's been the most surprising thing about the social media journey for you?
It's a slow grind. Trust is built over time. There's not like one little action you can do to gain someone's trust. Someone's been following me for a year. He said he started following me at WealthCon last year. He's just now reaching out, you know, to potentially do a deal with me. And that's just because he's been seeing my social media. So trust is built over time. Social media, it's a lot of work. It's a commitment. But if you have the right heart for it and the right intent, and you're looking to bring value to others, like with every post you put out, like there's got to be a little bit of value some way, whether it's motivation, maybe you're talking about how they can do it too, whatever it is, you just got to bring the value. It can't be so much be about like you and like your accomplishments, although I do think that's important because people want to attach to a leader and a winner. I don't think it could be all about, hey, look at me. You know, it's got to be more so like, hey, I can help you do this too.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about a relationship you built on social media that maybe has surprised you or has brought value to you.
A relationship on social media?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. As far as like following someone?
Anything that comes to mind. Yeah, I think about the money I've raised on social media, which has been one of the more surprising
Yeah.
aspects. You need to put a post out saying, "Hey, I'm looking for whatever 200K on this deal,"
Yeah.
and people I have no clue who they are, out of North Dakota, out of Jacksonville, Florida, are like, "Hey, I'd be interested in partnering." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, how'd you find me? I've been following you for a year. I don't
Yeah.
even know who they are." And you
Yeah.
build relationships like that. So for me, that's one thing that would come to mind. But anything that surprised you.
Hmm. I think the best thing that I've seen for me that's come from social media is uh potentially I'm starting to attract talent for the backyard community because people come in and they want to learn real estate. I'm like, great, I'll teach you that. I've done it. Here it is. Here's my credentials. Let's roll. But what I see it turning into is not only have I taught them the game, but now I identify, I like this person, I trust them. They're talking my lingo. We speak the same language. Okay, what can we do together? So with TJ and Josh, they're two of my early students. These guys are beasts now. Like I've taught them everything I've learned, like at least 90% of it, like fast. And so we're on an investor relation call yesterday, and I'm not even talking much. Like they got it covered. I'm like, do I even have to be here? So I get to think high level. So that's a fund we're starting, and that's cool to be able to know, like, hey, if I can just be the loudmouth on social media and get attention to book a link, the Grant Cardone, hit the link, hit the link, hit the link, then my guys can take over. So that's one thing. Is just partnering with people in my community because we're speaking the same language and we have the same goals.
It's always interesting to me how even if you don't have some massive following of 350K or whatever, you can still build great relationships on social media. That it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't take this massive following to I'll say do some damage, and meet some people
Yep.
and do some deals and raise some money. But shifting a little bit because I feel like one thing that was surprising to me with social media, you talk about refining your message, refining your motives. It's easy to want to get out on social media and promote yourself and say, "Oh, look, I won! Look, I won!" And then when you lose, you lose 30 grand, 40 grand, 100 grand, $1 million on a deal. It's harder to share that. There's a lot of humility that comes into play there, and you really have to kind of assess your motive. So,
Yep.
have you had any of those moments? Like, how have you refined, your how have you refined that spirit inside of you to go, okay, I really am going to help people this way?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I talk about this story quite a bit. I won't get into the whole story because it's everywhere on my social media. I talk about it, but it was around November 2022. I lost $500,000. The seller ended up giving me 250,000 back. That story is everywhere. People can find it online if they really look it up. But it was in that moment I was so scared. I was like, what is my mom going to think? What is my like girlfriend at the time going to think? She's not going to trust me anymore. Like no investor's ever going to want to invest with me. All these things playing in my mind. And it was at that moment I decided to hit record and press play and start teaching people like, hey, this stuff can happen. You got to be careful. Um, but sharing that vulnerability and that loss now is very easy for me because I just understand that if I can help one person, like that could be someone's whole life savings. I was fortunate to be in a point where like, I was worth a good amount at the time and I lost that. And like, yeah, it sucked, but I guarantee you I'll probably lose money again at some point. And this taught me how to face adversity, grow from it, and then see like where my life takes me. So I'm okay with being vulnerable and sharing those experiences because I know that's actually where people connect with me more, as opposed to me saying, hey, I just closed 10 million. Like that's cool too, but like they're going to connect with me on like the how and what not to do.
Yeah, I think Craig Rochelle says, people connect to your weaknesses,
That's good.
right? They learn from your
Yeah.
strengths, but they connect with your weaknesses. And I think you do a great job of explaining that and putting that out there for people.
Thank you. Craig's
Just
great. I love his book.
he's got biceps like you, man. So,
Appreciate that. Yep. Yep.
but
that guy's intense, dude.
he totally is. He totally is. I want to shift a little bit
Okay.
to the journey of an entrepreneur. From what I picked up about you, you've been an entrepreneur your entire life. That's been something that's just kind of been in your blood. And so, how did you recognize that? when was there a moment where you had to, take a step of courage to start, or did you just find yourself in it? That's just what you were doing constantly. And just tell me that story a little bit.
I think that there's a few things that just come to mind right away. And it's like when I was younger, we were flipping C's candy bars. So we'd wave cars down and we'd buy them for $1. We sell them for $1.50. It was for our school, but we'd always win. So we became very good at getting attention. Hey, stop your car right at the speed bump, right? Where they'd have to slow down. And then we do the transaction. We would sell candy. I was basically in the wholesaling business for sweets as a little Chris. I'm talking C's candy, Coca-Cola, sunflower seeds, and candy. And that's like, and then maybe a lawnmower business too. That was like early Chris, young Chris. But in college, it was more so out of necessity because my grandpa cut me off after I graduated and I wanted to stay in San Diego. I had no choice but to go and fix phones because I was like, well, I can make 60, $70 here. And it took me 15 minutes. So it kind of just became out of necessity. And then with the real estate, everything I learned from that cell phone repair business, I just use those people skills to continue to, wholesale real estate or flip real estate or develop real estate. So that's kind of been the transition from, being a young Chris to kind of college Chris to what people see now. It's just a lifetime of always having to, just create success for myself. But I think a lot of it just comes from also just like the competitive nature. Like I like to compete. I like to win. Sometimes I lose. The losses are tough, but I've learned to take those, especially in the real estate game. You're going to lose a lot. So yeah, man, that's kind of been my journey.
I was texting somebody about the deals we got going on, and he has a home improvement business, and I was like, yeah, we're winning on this, we're losing on that, we're winning on that, winning on that, losing on that, winning on that, losing on that, winning, losing. And he goes, well, I didn't think losing was the goal. And I'm like, well, it's not, but you take them on the chin sometimes, and you learn every time.
Yep.
Give me something. What would you tell Chris selling candy bars? Everything you've learned over this course of entrepreneurship. What's a lesson that you would share?
Don't quit. Don't quit. Just keep going. Even if you feel like your end goal is to sell 1,000 candy bars and you're not there, you're halfway, 500. There's like no way this can happen. The good that comes from it by continuing to stay in the work, doing the work, like, yeah, you might not hit the goal, but all of a sudden you get taken off this path and the skills you got from selling the candy bars. Now you only have to sell one car and you make the same amount that you would have made from the candy bars. So when I start doing real estate, I did that first deal. I got my first commission. It was like $12,000. I'm like, I don't ever want to do anything else. This is great. $12,000. And I kept doing that. And then I had some low years where I wasn't making as much. And then next thing you know, because I was in the game and I was learning that, I did a wholesale for 150K. I was like, whoa, I never want to sell a house again. I'd rather make 150 in one pop. And that will continue to change because I just never quit. I always know, like, just keep going. Just one more shot, one more time.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Now, I know you got some big plans and you got big vision for the future. So tell me what you got up your sleeve, what you're working towards.
Yeah. The truth is, I believe that I am more than capable to help a lot of people. I think for a long time, I had a limiting belief on who I was as an individual. And I overcompensated by having a penthouse and having a Rolex and Range Rover, all this like stuff because I was trying to feel good. I didn't feel good inside for a long time. So I chased success. I chased, females, all the things, the worldly things. And recently, over the last 3 months, I've had a realization that while all that stuff's great and I enjoy those things, like those don't make Chris who's Chris. So I think what's happening right now in this season of my life is like the most authentic version of me is coming through, like through this microphone, through camera. So what I think that leads to that authenticness just leads to this big brand. And that is the Backyard brand, vertically integrated. And it may start in San Diego, but I believe it clusters out to different parts across the nation where I'm helping a lot of people do a lot of things in the real estate industry. The Backyard brand, there's like, I haven't said this on the podcast yet, but there's like Backyard Ballers, which is going to be like a spinoff of On the Come Up podcast, like where I go in and interview these big ballers. Think Grant Cardone, Rich Summers, Ryan Pineda, the big dogs. Backyard Blueprint, which is like an architecture firm. Backyard Builders is construction here locally in San Diego. So just BB on everything we do. Backyard Barbecue is local meetups. And so just expanding that brand. I am in no hurry, by the way. Like I see this as like a decade play because I enjoy the sport of business.
It's amazing. You've referenced your spiritual journey here a couple times.
Yep.
And so I want to hear that. I want to hear, the last 12 months. I want to hear your journey from a young man and how you've arrived to the place that you are.
I love it. Great question. No one ever asked me about this, so I'm happy you did. I grew up Catholic. A lot of the guys at my church, Awaken here in San Diego, we all have this common theme. Like we grew up as Catholics, and that was great for me. Like great solid foundation. What's changed is like through college, I fell away with my relationship with God. I was just like, is this real? Like I'm just like focusing on partying, going out, and again, trying to fill a void inside of me, usually through females, by the way. And it wasn't until, in my 30s that I started to realize like I need to go back to church. And I think being around Ryan and a lot of other believers, God had been like pursuing me. I look back at this time period of my life over like the last 24 months, all these people around me were believers. And then I woke up one day, I was like, am I like the only one who's like not like going to church? It kind of felt like that. So over the last year, my faith has grown strong. I ended up at a Captivate Church in the College Area Baptist Church, by others pursuing me, other Christians who are like, hey, come to church with me. And so that's been really good for me. Actively doing like men's prayer. What else? I was recently baptized earlier back in February.
Awesome.
I feel, the devil's attacking me. He's like they say, after you get baptized, the enemy comes for you. He's coming for me, man. He knows
it's real.
He's trying to slow me down. But yeah, my faith feels stronger than ever, to answer your question.
So how has that changed the way that you do business and the way that you operate?
That's an amazing question, because before I would say I was a little bit of a hothead, controlling, needs to be my way because I've always done it this way. This way works. Look at my success. Let's do it my way. This is with my own people too. Like my own property manager, like her and I, we used to battle because she would want to do it her way. And I'm like, no, this is how we do it. Now I'm like, for instance, before this, I went to go to be on a podcast. I double booked. My bad. I was at their podcast and then they go, bro, something happened. Like we can't film right now. The producer's not here. And usually that would feel like an offense to me. Like, oh, you're not respecting my time. Right. And I was like, oh, dude, it's all good. It's cool. No worries. Let's film next week. And just like how you were today, and it's like, it's just made me more Christ-like at the end of the day. I still have my moments. We all do, but at least I can catch it. And maybe in that moment, I'll be a little, get a little flustered, but I can always look back on it and be like, nah, wish I would have done that a little differently. I can be more empathetic and just see things from a different perspective.
That's awesome. I was a pastor for 7 years.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, before I got into real estate.
I
Before
didn't
I
know
felt
that.
like God moved me on. But you said a phrase that it's like my favorite. It's my favorite illustration ever. You said that God was pursuing me.
Mm-hmm.
And we wrote a song, our worship team. I don't know why they let me write the song with them, but my favorite verse in the song, it's the bridge, and it goes, I found you, I found you, I found you, I found you, you found me, you found me, you found me, you found me. This whole question of, do I find God or does God pursue me? And it's this tension where the reality is it's both. And so the question I have for you is, was there a moment where you decided that you were going to acknowledge God's pursuing of you? And what was that moment like?
Yeah, absolutely. It was in a church on, I believe it was August 18th, 2023. I had just got back from Cabo, I think in June or something like that. And, I was a mess. This was at Ryan Pineda's event. Like everyone there remembers, like I got too drunk and, I was embarrassed, and I kept like, for the longest time, I really wanted to be done with alcohol. I just knew. I tried to do it myself though for a long time. I'd quit. and that was just the restraint was all on me. I had nothing helping me. Um, so that was back in June. I think it was like June 17th, exactly 1 year ago today, or more or less. And August comes around. I'm in a church, Captivate. I'd been there a few times. Liam, one of my sales guy, had invited me. So we went. Well, that time I wasn't with him. But I was there, and the pastor is telling a story about how for 10 years he dealt with alcohol addiction, and every word he was saying, like, it just felt like it was from God through him to me, to like, Chris, wake up, like, you can't do this anymore. I start crying, and Tessa at the time was there with me, and her brother. This is like our first date in San Diego. Not first date, but first time hanging out in San Diego together. And I'm bawling. And this girl's by me. I'm like, she can't see this. This ain't good.
She's
It's
like, I
not a
love
good.
this guy.
Yeah, it's not a good start. And so she was so sweet. At the end of the service, she goes, "You should go talk to the pastor." And that's not like me. I'm kind of shy. I'm a little shyer. You guys think I'm like fun and outgoing. I'm kind of an introvert. I get my energy from being alone. So I go up, I talk with him, and he's praying for me. I had never had anyone pray over me like that. I happen to be recording the conversation, which is so cool that I can like look back at it. But it was in that moment I made the active decision through God. I felt like God had tell me, okay, this is it. And I haven't drank since then. I don't even struggle with it. I'll go to these events. I feel great. I feel myself. And God had been pursuing me for a while, and it's so cool that he got my attention. So
That's
yeah,
amazing, dude.
yeah.
That's amazing. I'm excited for you.
Thank
I
you.
think that a lot of I ask myself this question all the time. How do you run a business and not have God in your life?
Yeah.
Because so much of it is, especially early on, it's survival. And you're operating off theory. It's like, okay, well, I saw that guy do this and I'm going to try it. And you're filled with ignorance usually. You don't know what you don't know, and you learn along the way. And outcomes, especially in real estate, are oftentimes variable. You can't control when the Fed triples interest rates, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't control when they print out, $4 trillion worth of stimulus and what that does for the good and for the bad.
Yeah.
And so, what would you say to that entrepreneur that doesn't have God in their life? What are they missing?
um God is the cornerstone. He's the foundation of everything you're doing. If I'm talking to a real estate investor, I'm going to explain it like this. Like, if you're going to build a house, you got to have some strong foundations, right? It's got to be able to weather those storms, the snow, the sun, the constant sun beating on the roof. Like, but that foundation is so important. And God, he's your rock. Here's your foundation. And when things go wrong, like I'm always in the Bible every morning, and he's always speaking to me. It could be one sentence, it could be a paragraph, but he's always directing me and guiding me. I truthfully believe that. I actually lived in my penthouse, and I read a verse, and it said something about like leaving the city. I start packing my bags that same day. I was like, I'm getting out of here, man. And I knew it was time. I knew God was telling me, like, you got to move out of here. But having God to lean on is crucial, especially in business, because as you said, things are gonna things are gonna happen. It's inevitable, and to be able to lean on Him and trust Him, that's like where it's at. Like, a relationship could go bad, but if you trust Him, it's either He's working on you in this season of your life, and so when you show up within your new relationship, you're going to show up as a better person. So He's always guiding you, even when you can't see it. And that's the crazy part. He's the ultimate architect. He knows, if I do this, this happens. If I do that, this happens. If I read the Bible this day, this happens. And so yeah, just starting my day in the Word has been really good for me. And God is my rock and my foundation.
It's a crazy adventure, isn't it?
It's insane.
It's like, how did he know I was thinking about that? That's wild. I want to talk a little bit about your, I don't know if you'd call it like a conversion from Catholicism to more of a, whatever you want to call it, like a non-denominational Protestant, whatever, Christianity. But in that change, having been brought up in I grew up Catholic too.
Okay.
It's very different. So in that change between being raised Catholic and having life-changing experiences in a different format, what preconceived notions did you have to work through, and what do you enjoy about one approach versus the other approach?
Yeah. I think, Catholic, I was in the choir, and that was like kinder to eighth grade, and then Catholic ninth to 12th. So I was like in it. Um, One thing for sure is almost going through the motions, right? I don't know if I actually had a relationship with the Lord at the time. It was more so, oh yeah, we just go to church on Sundays and then we go to McDonald's with grandpa. Like that's just what we did. We sang in the choir. It was great. Um, and I'm not knocking on it. That was my experience with it. And being a Christian is much different because I don't have to be like in a church or in a building to worship God. I can just start worshiping him right now. I mean, I'll be at the gym and I'll throw on my worship playlist and I'm just like, it's great. And so I think that it's a much different, it's a different, I guess, mindset. And also, um, it's a different feeling because I just feel like I'm always connected with God. Like right now, I feel like he's speaking through you to me. He's speaking through me to you, to the audience. And he's always, it's like the Holy Spirit's just guiding my words. It makes the public speaking much easier because I don't have to think too much. I'm just kind of flowing and saying what's on my heart. And God knows my heart more than anyone. And yeah, that's been my experience.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing all that. I know it's to be transparent like that is not everybody could do it, but I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Let's go back to business a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to hone in a little bit on my man Grant Cardone because I think everybody knows about Grant, and not few, but relatively few people have had personal interactions with him. And so, you've shared a little bit about what you've learned from him and how he's inspired you. Take it to the next level. What are you 10xing in your life because of your relationship with him?
Hmm. Well, he's actually, I mean, I'm responsible, God's responsible, but in a way, Grant has definitely been responsible too for a lot of like all this stuff. Because when I joined his real estate club, I think it was June 2022, right when I played golf with Ryan. And the guys were hounding me. Like his sales team is insane. And I was like, do I do this? This is a lot of money. They're like, you can pay $5,000 a month. Like at the time, I didn't have $25,000 laying around. They're like, you can just make a payment plan of 5,000. I committed to it. This was June 2022. And on that first, maybe about a month in, they reached out to me. They go, hey, thanks for joining the real estate club. Grant's filming a TV show in San Diego and across 10 different cities. Would you like to be on it? And you're going to have to audition for it. So now what do? I go and buy this. I buy like the background. I got to make it look good, just like this Zoom right now. And I still have that video. I dress up and I'm trying to just sell myself because it's sell or be sold. And if I don't get the position, maybe someone else will. So it was in that moment I realized that my brand and everything that you see online was non-existent almost. It was just kind of, just normal. And I realized I had to step my game up. Grant didn't know me at the time. And if I wanted to get his attention, I'd have to like start putting myself together. So by August 2022, I got the position. We filmed here in San Diego. I got to meet him, got to hang out a little bit, walk deals. That show's coming out soon. But it was in that moment when I left the studio at Billie Jean's studio here in San Diego, I realized, man, if this comes out in like 6 months and people land on my page or my website, like who's Chris Luna? Like, it's not going to help me at all. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, it's time to like throw some gasoline on this and start, turning it up a little bit, get very serious. So it was in those moments. I took everything very serious, went all in on social media, start going to more networking events. So to answer your question, Grant indirectly lit a fire under my butt because it was like, well, if I'm going to get this attention, I better be able to convert it. So that just by being in his presence, I learned that I'd have to step my game up. Otherwise, when people land on my page, they're not going to think much and just keep scrolling because there's so many other people out there they can be getting their info from.
Do you agree or disagree with the statement that entrepreneurship is constantly putting yourself in situations where you're over your skis?
That's a great question. Over your skis, meaning like you can tip and fall soon?
Like I would say, putting yourself in situations that you have never been in.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, I tend to agree with that because as an entrepreneur, something is going to come up no matter what. It's impossible. Like the lender's going to be late. Uh, your equity partner's going to get a divorce, so he can't invest with you. Your wife's going to be mad at you that you did that deal. You can't go on vacation. Like stuff's going to come up. And so just in the business of in the sport of business, things will come up, and you got to learn to put those fires out. And if you don't, what happens is you just get resentful. I know for a fact, I can speak on this. For a long time, I had 15 partners across a lot of my deals. I was annoyed with them. This is before I knew Jesus. I'm like, they're always over here like mad at me. I'm always doing something wrong. I'm over here thinking I'm doing a great job, and they're always just like not happy with me. And I could have done a better job. Maybe I could have been more transparent in my 20s when I was doing my deals, but I was juggling a lot. And so that's why I like the backyard community, because now I say, hey, if you're an investor of mine, come hop on my Tuesday calls, come on the Wednesday calls. I'll tell you everything you need to hear. Just don't hit me up on a Sunday at 6 p.m. when I'm trying to chill. It's just I have and so now I have boundaries too. That's something new that I've learned. But yeah, I'm always putting out fires, and I think the best entrepreneurs have to. Otherwise, you just won't be an entrepreneur. You'll kind of fizzle out.
I love the idea of seizing opportunities, like you said with the Grant Cardone show. It's like, well, I have this
Yeah.
opportunity to do this. I have this opportunity to be in his mastermind or be in this real estate club. And, you've got 6 months to build your brand, or to
Yeah.
have a place where people can go. And so my question to you is, you've been successful. Why do you keep wanting to grow like that? Like, what is the motivation behind you?
Yeah. I think I can honestly say back then it was money. I thought money would be like, oh, if I have more money, that would validate me, and therefore people will see me as successful. And so I will finally feel enough. Back then it was money. That's not true today. Do I like money? Yes. Do I want to go on vacations? Yes. But for me these days, it's building, it's making a lasting impact. All this stuff we record is going to live on the internet forever. If my grandson wants to see how Grandpa Chris built his empire, the backyard community, it's all documented for them to see. Maybe that's a source of inspiration for them to grow and start their own businesses, and just leaving this legacy impact, leaving this world better than I found it, and ultimately giving all the glory to God and showing people that, yeah, Chris had a lot, but look what happened when he dedicated his life to the Lord, when he started caring about others, when he became more Christ-like, when he got rid of the anger, when he got rid of the jealousy. Like, look what happened to his life. He blew up. And that alone, like, I have the alcohol, like quitting alcohol testimony, but I think the testimony of look what happened to his life when he started doing these things, that should help a lot of people just commit their life to Christ, and they'll see like the positive effects loving the Lord and loving the church will do for them.
It's amazing. What's one thing about Chris Luna that most people don't know?
Let's see here. I would say one thing people don't know about me is I can tend to feel abandoned sometimes. If I'm not invited to a party, or I'm not invited to a pool party, or invited to whatever it is, I can feel rejected and abandoned. And that's just a childhood wound that I get to work through. It's an opportunity to grow from that. First step is to be aware of it. I wasn't aware of it for the first, X amount of years. Now I am. And in those moments, to be able to be like, no, you're just feeling this way because of how you were treated at some point during your life. And you keep telling yourself that same story, but that's not truth. Go to the Bible and replace it with truth. So that's something most people don't know about me. They probably see me as well put together, crushing it in business, real estate, happy guy. No, I feel rejection sometimes. I have a spirit of rejection on me that I've been trying to remove for a while.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
What's one dream that Chris Luna has that most people don't know about?
One dream would be, I mean, I obviously want to get married and have kids. I'm an older guy now, but wife and kids would be that everyone probably knows I want that. Let's see. Let me think of something better. Let me think of something good. I've always dreamed of having a private jet. that was just like selfish. Like I just like, oh, I want the private jet, you know? It's like, again, that's just comes down to validating myself through external things. So that even that I can't add that to the list.
I
I
want
am
one of
actually,
those too, though, man. So
yeah,
we're in the same boat there.
yeah, there you go. I think one thing is that I'm actually okay with less in my life. People probably don't think that or know that. Maybe they do if they've been following my journey closely, but I've downsized to this small little junior one bedroom. And bro, I'm happy here. It's great. Like every nook and cranny is accounted for. I got my pool right there. So I'm okay actually with less. That's something probably don't people don't realize about me.
That's awesome. I want to talk. I keep thinking of questions about being in these rooms because most of the aspiring entrepreneurs that I talk to, they're just so scared to pull the trigger on educating themselves. It's the last thing that they do is invest in themselves and their own ignorance. And so, uh, I'll give you an example first, and then I'll open the floor to you. The first event I ever went to was that Pineda Ryan's Wealth Conference, and I was amazed by what being in a room with people who had the same intensity and drive did to me. Like it was like
Mm-hmm.
osmosis. Like it just rubbed off on me. It's just like when you go to church and the Holy Spirit's in the room. It's like you go to this freaking conference and there's just hustle in the room, you know?
Yeah.
And it takes you to new levels and it makes you dream bigger. I can remember going back to my room and, you know, like scaling my business on my notepad, going, oh, I didn't know I could
Yeah.
do that. I didn't know I could do that. I could get to, 2 million in revenue by this time if I did ABC. But another thing that was surprising was it helped me build a lot of confidence in myself because I go, oh, if they can do that, I can do it
Mm,
too.
absolutely.
Do you have any takeaways like that? I want to help push people over the edge towards, spending the money and investing in
Mhm.
themselves. I mean, people spend money to be in your community. And so what's the pitch? What do we say to people? What's your experience been?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say in a world of it's like with social media and like you could see it's almost like think about like dating. Like in dating these days, there are so many options out there. So although I may have like a good one now, I'm looking on social media. I'm like, well, she's kind of cute. Now, not that I'm lusting after them, but it's just like, okay, she looks interesting, right? And so in this world of all of these options, we always think the grass is greener, and that may not be true. And so where I'm tying that back into is with business. You could see like Grant doing multifamily or someone doing flipping or wholesaling, or you see me doing AG development. You get pulled in all these directions, and that creates inaction and people to do nothing. And so, what I would say is, if you have a good gut feeling about something or someone or a product, and you see the success not only of them but of their students, and you have interest in that, and there's passion behind it, maybe lean into one thing, maybe not social media right away, maybe lean into like one thing that's going to make you money. um and I think to get them over the edge, like something that you and I would say to them is, like just the truth. And it's that we've started with nothing. We just worked hard, and that we can teach them how to do that too. And that it's not going to be easy. And then we can't make any promises, but what I see in my community are the people who show up weekly, they're doing deals. It's inevitable. And so when you can, that's what I learned at GrowthCon actually, February 2022. Grant says he was launching 10x Health. And instead of just going to the people and saying, look at 10x Health, what he did is he doesn't market that. He markets Dana White, who 10x Health helped him. And then Dana White talking about the product is what Grant markets. So marketing other people's success with your product is how you inspire them, I would say.
It's amazing. I I have this thought often when I'm in those rooms. It's like, man, I paid all this money so I could be challenged this hard,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Because and that word I've been using is that ignorance word. You just don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And you can watch all the guys on social media and learn just the tippy top surface of all there is to know about how they arrived where they've arrived and all the lessons that they've learned. And so I don't know, man. I like to encourage people as much as I can, and specifically because you and I met at one of these events.
Yeah.
you know, and now we can cheer each other on through social media and help each other push different things. What comes from it is that you can't put a dollar amount on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to add one thing to that, and it's that for a while I was trying to become like known across the US, and Ryan said something. He was like, before he was known across the US, he was known in Vegas first. Everyone knew him in Vegas. So recently I've switched gears and I'm like, I go to all the San Diego events, I throw my own events, and it's working. I walk into rooms and it's like people know me. It's the craziest thing. I feel like a celebrity in my hometown. But what's cool about WealthCon and GrowthCon is it's people from across the US with the same, typically somewhat same mindset that end up in one place. And I can meet you there. And so now I have a connection in Columbus. Maybe we do a deal in Columbus. And so it's Ryan pulls people together, and now it creates that kind of web of connections across the US. And I think that's really cool, because how on earth would have you and I ever met without that? And that's God orchestrating through Ryan, bringing community together.
It's amazing, dude.
Yeah.
I'm super excited for you. And thanks for taking the time to be with us here. I want just to give you a chance to tell people where they can find you and how they can interact with you and learn from you the way that I've learned from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on Instagram, chrisj.luna, chrisj.luna. Pretty active there, probably on it a little bit too much. Backyardbillionaire.com is our landing page where we talk about, the ADU development program and everything we're doing there. We also have a school channel, but the best place is just to DM me on Instagram and I'll get you to whatever link you need. But yeah, man, I appreciate you like getting me on the podcast. I'm super excited to see what you're going to do and how you're going to grow this. Excited to see your coaching with Ryan and all that, the things you're doing, man. It's going to be big. It's going to be a big year for you.
Appreciate it, man. We're just on the come up. That's it.
Let's go. Let's go. You got to be
Yes,
on the come
sir.
up next.
That's awesome, dude. Anytime. You let me know.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
And cut.
Cool.
Dude,
Awesome,
you're amazing.
man.
You're amazing.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. You're amazing. You're a good flow to the show.
Appreciate it, dude. It's easy when you got a guest like you. It's like there's so
Appreciate
many
that.
parts of you. It's like, I want to know more about this whole. As soon as you said you grew up Catholic, I'm like, that's a whole story in and of itself.
It is. And I'm happy to like share some of these things slowly but surely. I've become more comfortable with it because at the end of the day, I think I used to hide things, hide that I lost money or hide that I was Catholic, hide that I've had bad relationships. Now I'm just like, I'll tell you guys, some will judge me, some won't, but I'm going to tell you either way.
Yep. Take me or leave me.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm good with that.
That's absolutely true. It's funny because I get nervous about starting new businesses and putting new stuff out there because I'm like, oh, people are going to think I'm a scatterbrain, man. They're not good. They don't understand the vertical integration. They don't understand the big picture. And I had a guy reach out to me and goes, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "What do you mean, am I okay?" Like, well, you're starting this roofing thing and whatever. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fantastic. I'm most excited about this thing that I've ever, it's just funny."
Yeah. Yeah. There's just people don't understand. Like they're probably more set to their, nice, safe 9 to 5, 401k. And that's cool because the US needs people who are stimulating the economy on a nice thing. But the people who take these risks, like you and I, social media is a risk. But if we hit it big and create enough attention, like someone will look back on it and be like, dang, I wish I did that.
It's funny, man. I've got one video that's like viral every time I post it. So I just repost it. And it brought me a lot of great stuff. But locally there's a guy who flips houses that I've come across with. And there's like in Columbus, there's like it's at least for a while there it was super clicky. It's like here's these young guys that are doing real estate. And if you're not in that mastermind, it's like F you, we do deals with each other, we do this, which is fine. Then I get this following on Instagram. And it just, for some reason, gave me some sort of legitimacy. And it's wild how it works. It's like, oh, he must be doing something because he's got a couple thousand followers on Instagram. It's crazy.
Exactly. Yeah. It's that social proof. And then they see you hanging out with Ryan and doing coaching. When you dabble with that and you throw that on your story, that's I think what led to a lot of stuff for me is people seeing me hang out with Grant. Like you land on my page, you see me in a photo of Grant, you're like, oh, okay, you're doing something. I don't know what, but let's see let's hit a little follow and see what he's doing.
Yeah,
I'm curious. Yeah.
Good stuff, dude.